Resilience is so many things. It's recognizing discomfort as a positive thing, that discomfort is not something to run from, but discomfort is actually your friend. If I ask all your listeners right now to think about all their greatest experiences in their lives, people are going to say things like giving birth, getting married, traveling, jumping out of airplanes. Like these are their greatest experiences. And every single one of those greatest experiences have one thing in common, and it's discomfort or fear.
Many high achievers, high performers, you've helped a lot of people make a lot of money, you've made a lot of money. They still deal with burnout even if everything is going well. So, how do we deal with that?
My body and my brain, my physicalness is in decay. Struggles, problems, issues keep me sharp. They keep me growing because if I'm not growing, I'm dying. So I'm like, oh, there's another problem. That's good. There's another issue. That's good because now I'm able to grow. This is helping me grow. Whatever way it's helping me grow.
Problems and chaos will not stop no matter where you are in your life, no matter how much money you're making. There's some problem or the other that you're going to solve. So, how do you get in that space? How do you be mindful?
Well, there is actually a place that you can go where there people experience no problems and no issues. Cemeteries, right? Full of people with no problems or no issues.
Today on Breaking Boundaries with Aditi, we are into the world of resilience, transformation, and human potential with someone who has truly lived it all. My guest over here, who is Brandon Barber, he's not just a coach, he's a transformation analyst who's impacted over millions' lives, created hundreds of courses, like hundreds of lives of live events, and built programs that have generated over $10 million in revenue. And what really makes Brandon extraordinary is not the numbers, but it's the turnaround story behind them. Like from battling with anxiety, fatigue, complete business burnout, and rebuilding your business and completely redefining the way people look at entrepreneurship is something that I really want to understand from you today. And I'm really excited to have you here, Brandon.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I would love to start with, you giving me a backstory about we were just talking about how you're helping people to actually turn their struggles into courses and help them make millions. So what was your story? Like, how did you get into this?
Yeah, I got into coaching 25 years ago. So I got into it a long time ago through really just my own struggles and having my own issues, my battles with anxiety and difficulties in my late 20s. There was one point in my life I had a panic attack a day for 3 years until I became agoraphobic and wouldn't leave my house. And then by overcoming that through all the different ways in which I overcame that, I think I just had this strong desire to help other people. And so
Hmm.
that's where this whole coaching thing began, is wanting to help others. And then for years, we're just helping people. We're just helping others. We weren't quite sure what to call what we were doing or what was happening. We just said we're just coaches, right? We're helping
Right.
people and we're working with them. But then at some point we got to a place where like, hey, we got to define this. We got to get really clear about what we do and how we do it and what's the ultimate way to help people, not just in resilience, but how do we help them like create an income? How do we help them create money? And that's when we took a step back and realized what we were doing. We'd built hundreds of courses that have generated all this income throughout the years. We thought, what do we help people do that? What do we help them take their issues, their struggles, their problems, their adversities that they've overcome and turn them into courses that they can sell online?
Hmm.
So that's really once we got clear about defining that and what that really meant, and getting clear. That's what we've done over the last few years is really helped ourselves get define and get more clear about what we do.
Got it. So, if you're okay to share, like, how much have your clients have been able to make after applying your systems in the last couple of years?
In the last couple of years, we've helped clients generate. Oh my gosh, if I took a step back, it's a lot more than we've made. I'll just say that. Um, millions of dollars that we've helped people generate and create in their own businesses and their own lives through courses, through coaching, through building their business, through helping them create a high ticket offer. We've helped numerous individuals, thousands of individuals generate millions of dollars in their business.
Got it. And all of these people, they only sell courses or they also do coaching?
Yeah, and it's not just courses. We help people, not only do we help people create courses, but we help people become coaches and run their own coaching business. We have a coaching certification where we give people the nuts and bolts of what it took us to do 25 years of to create and do that a lot quicker than 25 years without all the trial and error. So we help a lot of coaches create a coaching business or refine their coaching business to be a more effective business. And then just our overall resilience training that we've helped people do. I think once people get in the right headspace, they can definitely approach their business a lot better. So the mindset, I don't know what the percentage of that is of your business, but I've heard it's like 80%. 80% of your business is mindset. I know I can't approach my business if I'm not in the right space because I come across as desperate or needy or, just overstimulated by too much stuff going on in my own nervous system. So if we've helped a lot of people just get right with their brains, get right in their minds, and then they go work their businesses more effectively.
Interesting, very interesting. And honestly, I completely agree with you because when I started my business around like 5 years ago, all I was talking about and thinking about is let me reach the next $10,000, 20,000, 30,000. And once you reach that goal, you just want to do more, right? But you're not able to really enjoy during the process. You're like, let's go towards the next big thing. And when I actually had this particular mindset that, we are able to, I mean, journey is the entire thing, the destination doesn't really matter anymore. Everything changed in my business. There was consistency. I was not scared that where will my next client ever come from. So this is absolutely true. So when I was, going through your videos and your content and everything, I hear you talking a lot about resilient systems. What is all that about?
Yeah, I think it's a lot about what you just talked about is not getting so attached to the outcome, but definitely focused more on the journey. I think you're right. I remember when our business did its first $1 million, and I didn't celebrate. I didn't do anything. I was just disappointed that I didn't feel 1,000 times better like I thought I would. So I thought the outcome was going to provide me all this joy and all this passion, and when it didn't, I thought more is what I needed to do. So I think resilience, a lot of it is not achieving to be enough. It's not achieving to be successful. It's happily achieving. And once you get to a place of happily achieving, I think that's ideal. But resilience is so many things. It's recognizing discomfort as a positive thing, that discomfort is not something to run from, but discomfort is actually your friend. I mean, all our greatest experiences, if I ask all your listeners right now to think about all their greatest experiences in their lives, the greatest things that happened to them over their entire lives, people are going to say things like, at least our clients say things like giving birth, getting married, traveling, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, swimming with sharks, jumping out of airplanes. Like these are their greatest experiences. And every single one of those greatest experiences have one thing in common, and it's discomfort or fear.
Right.
So everything's on the other side of discomfort and fear, right? So I think really tapping into the concept that discomfort and fear are actually not to be avoided, but to be welcomed. That's resilience, and that's the ultimate resilience tool, if you will. There's lots of things to learn about how to handle your body and your nervous system and cold water, exercise, physical touch, breathing. I mean, these are all things that help you take care of your nervous system. So those are sort of resilient systems. In fact, we have what's called a resilient first aid kit that we give people that walks them through some of those science-based things that help people to balance their nervous system. So they can even get to a place where they start thinking about, hey, let me look at this whole thing that's going on in my life a little different. But
Hmm.
what if I could help people from this process learn, grow, become stronger and better from this? And who can I serve because of the struggle or issue that I'm going through? And once you do that, I think then I look at resilience like this. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice.
Hmm.
So if we look at pain and discomfort as something that's actually serving us, as long as we're not in suffering state, that's the key.
What can you like give me some example to make me understand this concept?
Yeah, so suffering is pain without meaning, right? Suffering is, oh my gosh, I'm going through this struggle, I'm going through this issue, I have this problem, I have this difficult thing, and I don't have any meaning around it. It's just there. It's
Hmm.
just things happen. And it's like, well, that's suffering, right? Because, and if you think about suffering, we're probably going to be focused on one of three things when we're suffering: what we've lost, what we may have less of, or what we never have. When I talk to people who are suffering, I'm like, what do you have less of right now? And they're like, I have less time, I have less money, I have less love. The three biggest areas of scarcity in our lives. What have you lost? They say, I lost my confidence. I've lost my mojo. I lost my positive attitude. It's the brain is focused on loss, less, or maybe I never have it. So now there's no hope. And I think that's suffering. But if your pain or your struggle or your issue, whether it's anxiety or frustration or a business downturn or something in the economy or whatever it might be, if you look at it like, how is this thing helping me learn or grow so that I can be serving people in the future? I think that's pain and having pain, and pain is the price of passion, right? So, in order to have that passion, in order to have those greatest experiences, pain, discomfort's going to be there. But if you look at it from a standpoint of how it's growing you or helping you or serving you so that you can help people in the future, you're absolutely focused on the most important thing, which is contribution.
Hmm.
And that's pain with meaning. And without it, it's just a state of suffering.
Hmm.
I think I got this concept from Man's Search for Meaning, the book by Viktor Frankl, where he's in a Nazi concentration camp and he's focused differently than other people are. Other people around him are dying and being malnutritioned and being, I mean, just horrific things happening in a Nazi concentration camp. They're happening to him as well, but all these people around him are dying. Why is he not dying? Why, how is he living? How is he actually find himself in that situation, even at times thriving? And it was the concept of how am I learning or growing so that I might be able to serve a human being in the future?
Hmm.
And that's meaning. That's bringing meaning to pain.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you achieve that level of intelligence to be able to understand that?
Yeah, it's hard, especially when you're in the middle of it, right? It's like asking yourself to start to meditate while you're being chased by a tiger.
Yeah.
That's pretty tough to do because your nervous system might be so offline that you don't have that wherewithal. Certainly, your prefrontal cortex does have that wherewithal. The part of your brain that like can tap into that and go, yes, that's here. But if you're triggered or you're offline or your nervous system isn't working properly, then you're probably not in that space of looking at life like that. You're just busy surviving. And I think that's where some of those resilience tools become so important, where you do breathe, you do meditate, you utilize physical touch. Maybe it's just a hug. That's why service animals work really well.
Hmm.
Maybe it's cold water. Maybe it's, a cold plunge or a cold shower or even just a cold rag on the back of your neck. Um, but something that, can get your nervous system balanced so that you can get into the state where your prefrontal cortex can start to see, hey, yeah, I am growing, I am learning. So I think the question, how am I learning? How am I growing so that I might be able to serve somebody in the future is the ultimate question. I mean, listen, everything's in decay, right? Our bodies are in decay. Our business is decaying. I live in a home that was built in 1929. It's decaying. If I don't take care of the things that are in decay, then what happens? They just fall apart.
Yeah.
So I think our brains are the same way. So I always look at it like, I don't always look at it, but I do my best to look at it like, hey, my body and my brain, my physicalness is in decay. And struggles, problems, issues keep me sharp. They keep me growing because if I'm not growing, I'm dying. So I'm like, oh, there's another problem. That's good. There's another issue. That's good because now I'm able to grow. This is helping me grow, whatever way it's helping me grow. Otherwise, I just sit around and if we just sat around in our comfort zones all the time, we would eventually decay and not really have a purpose.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah. I mean, I think about being moved by so many things. The people and the situations and the things that move me, the movements, are people that are going through growth.
Hmm.
I'm not moved by the things that are comfortable. I'm not moved by the comfort zones in life. So if I'm going to be an example to everybody else and move them through my situations, then I've got to look at the things that show up in my life as growth, as opportunities. Hard to do when you can't pay for your bills or you can't
Yeah.
pay your bills because money's not coming in or you're struggling with some illness.
Hmm.
In 2019, I got a cancer diagnosis. And listen, I did not immediately go to, I'm growing. How am I learning? How am I growing? I curled up in a ball like a baby and was in absolute fight, flight, or freeze where I didn't know, if I was going to survive. I didn't know if I was going to live. But eventually I was able to get myself utilizing certain protocols, exercise, cold water, making sure I was eating healthy, meditation, yoga. I mean, some really important things that helped me get into a place where my body could then get and my mind could get right. And I could start thinking about, hey, why is this happening?
Hmm.
Well, how is this helping me grow and learn so that I can help people in the future? I
Right.
went through cancer. How can I help people understand not only if they have some disease, but some other struggle or problem or situation in their life? Like, if I can overcome it, if I can get to another place because of that, anybody can.
Hmm. Right. But how do you get in that space? Like there should be is there any step-by-step plan that how do you get in that zone and that because problems and chaos will not stop no matter where you are and in your life, no matter how much money you're making, there's some problem or the other that you're going to solve. So how do you get in that space? Like how do you be mindful?
Yeah. Well, there is actually a place that you can go where there people experience no problems and no issues. There is a place. It exists. Do you know where that place is? Do you know where that lives?
No.
Cemeteries, right? It's full of people with no problems or no issues. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's upgrading your next problem. It's really up leveling your problems. Again, I think step by step, if I was to look at step by step, I have to notice when I'm offline, right?
Hmm.
When is my I don't know if your viewers are going to be able to see this or just hear this, but use my brain, my fist like a brain, and the knuckles are the prefrontal cortex. And it's all curled up in a fist, and this is my brain. And if this is my brain, when things come in that are difficult or challenging, they activate my brain and I go offline. And my prefrontal cortex is no longer functioning. And now I'm in my amygdala or my um, limbic system, if you will, right? Now I'm in survival mode. So how do you get into back into a place where you're actually operating from your prefrontal cortex and not from your limbic system? Because again, we're not going to operate in our limbic system. So the pieces, science says the most important thing to do is to do 6 minutes of breath work.
Hmm.
Or you could, yes, you could count them out, but 6 minutes of breath work. And how much breath work out? There's an app for every. I mean, you could do box breathing, you could do coherent breathing, you could do um, anxiety, the or the Wim Hof breathing method. Like whatever kind of breath work you do for 6 minutes, that's the magic number. Now, if you're still offline, this is where you could say, "Hey, I'm going to do the second thing that science says is the most important thing to get my nervous system back online, which is physical touch."
Hmm.
And this can be a hug. This can be, a lengthy hug, but this can be petting an animal for sure, but some sort of physical touch to get your nervous system back online. Now, if you're still activated, cold water. The magic number there is 3 minutes, 3 minutes of at least under 50 degrees. So whether that's a cold plunge or that's a cold shower, or again, just your face in cold water. But something you can engage in the cold for at least 3 minutes is the next key. And then the fourth thing is chanting
Hmm.
or singing, humming, like hum, vu, om. Why do those things work? They balance our vagus nerve, most important nerve in our entire body. Um, And then if that's not still not working, then you exercise. And that's number five. But if you think about if you had a regimen every morning where you did all five of those things, doesn't have to take all day, takes, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. But if you started all of that stuff every single day before you started your day doing other things, how much more regulated is your nervous system going to be? You're preventative instead of reactive. So when we create protocols, and especially these protocols, now I think we design ourselves to get back online a lot better. So our prefrontal cortex can even go to the place where we're saying, hey, I'm learning and I'm growing instead of just reactive to everything. So I think those resilience, those five key things are pertinent to setting up ahead of time before your struggles come, before your problems show up in the morning, before your or midday, before you get anxious, before you get whatever you go into. Your protocols become that preventative, and your protocols are sacred. They're things that you do every single day because they serve you at a higher purpose, but serve everybody else at a higher purpose. It's
Hmm.
something you're not just doing for yourself, it's something you're doing for everybody else. When you do those things, you become better for your spouse, for your kids, for your parents, for the world around you, your clients. You become better for others because I think we'll do a whole lot more for other people than we will for ourselves. So they're sacred in that you're sacrificing something. You're sacrificing your time, your energy. Um, you're sacrificing your old routines to engage in something new. I think that's what makes it sacred is you are sacrificing something to do something that serves you and the world around you in a much bigger way.
Hmm. Got it. How long did it take you to come to this, this mindset?
Well, cancer kickstarted it for sure. So when you're faced with the fact that you might be dying and you might not be here anymore, I think that's a big wake up call for a lot of things. So um, I think I was always learning along the way and growing and doing better and understanding things. And cancer definitely kickstarted everything much quicker.
Hmm. Got
So
it.
I'd say I've had this understanding to some degree. I get better and better and better at this understanding, but my struggles, my problems, my issues, they help me get there faster. So again, another reason to welcome problems and struggles and issues is they're helping you become more aware and have a better understanding much quicker.
Got it. So was it because you wanted to live a better life and you knew that there is something better out there for you, and that's why you want to get out of this situation and you did this to get better?
Yeah, I think it's always, we're always wanting more, right? Whether it's more money or more time or more love or more, we're always in search of something more. And I think for me, it was just, I thought of growth at a very young age. I realized that growth was something that I craved. I didn't want to stay stuck. Boredom to me was the ultimate stuck. And
Hmm.
so moving through problems and issues, um, so that you become a better fill in the blank. Um, but really ultimately to, to become happier, to become more purposeful, to understand, why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And what's the purpose of my being? I think that's always our question, isn't it? Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, got it. And a little bit more about in depth on that. See, many high achievers, high performers, you've helped a lot of people make a lot of money, you've made a lot of money. They still deal with burnout even if
Mm.
everything is going well. You have that. I also have that feeling a lot of times that my life has become robotic. Maybe
Mm.
there's some sort of, you know, I need a break, but even if I go on a break and I come back, the feeling still is there. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that that's the world we live in, at least for the most part, is people, they're waiting for the weekend
Hmm.
or they're waiting for their next vacation. And then they vacate for a while. They go feel wonderful somewhere, but then somewhere in the vacation, they're dreading coming back to reality, coming back to having to do the grind. I think that's achieving to be enough, the
Hmm.
constant achievement to be enough, performance-based self-esteem. I lived my whole life, and I still do to some degree, in performance-based self-esteem. So you said it, you hit a certain mark, then you just set the expectation higher. Then
Yeah.
you hit that mark and you set it higher, and then you hit that mark and you set it higher. It's never enough. It's never enough. That's burnout. That's not sustainable.
Hmm.
So I think having guideposts along the way, boundaries, if you will, identifying, hey, I this is something that I won't move past or I won't sacrifice. I know for me, if I go weeks without sleeping well, and I'm waking up in the middle of the night, and I'm thinking about my business. I'm thinking about my
Hi
business. I'm
everyone. Hmm.
worrying about more of my business and more of my business. And then the next day I wake up and I'm worried about my business. I know that's a guidepost. That means, whoa, hang on. I got to slow down because this is not sustainable. I got to slow down a little bit. Maybe that's taking an afternoon off. Maybe that's making sure that I have that balance in my life. Where am I? Do I have spirituality as part of my life? Am I making sure I'm doing all of my protocols?
Hmm.
Am I having that balance? Do I need more passion? Do I need to express myself in some way? Do I need to live it with more rest and recovery? Like, where do I need to create more balance? So, looking at your guideposts where it's like, whoa, I'm starting to slip into that. I start using the words, I've got to do this, I must do this, I should do this, I'm supposed to do this. That's another guidepost for me because I hear myself saying those words. I have to, I should, I'm supposed to. I'm feeling obligated. That's a guidepost to go, hang on, I'm not doing what I want to do. I'm
Mm,
not doing what I get to do or I choose to do. I'm actually doing the have tos. And so it's another time for me to step back and go, well, getting close to burnout. So having the ultimate boundary that says, when these guideposts show up in my life, I recognize that I'm going outside of the secure area, if you will, that I'm going outside. I'm headed out to burnout. It's almost like I look at my dog and I trust my dog to go outside and run around the yard and do everything that he's going to do. Do I trust my dog to not go out of my yard and then go into somebody else's yard and get lost
mm,
or end up in the dog pound or, somebody takes my dog? That could happen. So what do we put up? I know in the US we have these things called electric fences.
mm,
And the electric fence is something that people don't see, but it's like underground. And my dog, if he goes past a certain level or past a certain place, then it shocks him. So he
mm.
stays in a certain area, right?
Right.
Those are guideposts. So I look at that in my own life. Where's my electric fence? Where's my invisible electric fence? And that's what these guideposts really are for me is, oh, I'm starting to go too far out there because if you burn out, sickness is right around the corner, right? It
Mm,
just is. So it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you get sick, it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you get sick, it doesn't matter. It becomes the most important thing in your life. You're forced to deal with your sickness.
yeah.
So having your own electric fence, if you will, having those boundaries where you're like, hey, I'm not going to go past this. I won't go past this. I'm not
Mm,
going to go past a week of not sleeping. I'm not going to go past you know, this particular area in my life where maybe I'm not having time for my kids or I'm not having time with my spouse or now I'm pushing too far and I need to step back. And again, I'm trying to achieve to be enough because my self-esteem depends on it. Then I've got to recognize, hang on, tap back into where is my self-esteem? And I'm good enough not as long as something's happening, but I am good enough. And this is where affirmations with movement, we call
mm.
them incantations. I am enough, but using it with strength or force. I'm good enough. I'm valuable enough. Like being able to communicate those things to yourself and believe them, I think are important.
Hmm.
Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely it does. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of things I feel is self-talk is how you talk to yourself,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're always talking to ourselves, right? In our heads, we're always
Yeah.
communicating in some degree.
Yeah. And to everyone listening to this video right now, people who feel disconnected from their work, people who feel unsatisfied despite having it all, having great
Hmm.
life, having money, having good clients, being able to be in a healthy space every single day. And if they still feel disconnected, how do they realign with themselves?
I think gratitude is underrated right now. I think people have heard the word be grateful in so many different contexts that it almost um, becomes watered down, simplified, and people underestimate the power of gratitude.
Hmm,
But I think recognizing what is around you that's amazing and beautiful, I think especially in situations where you you start to go into criticism about something. Like I could look at my windows right now and go, my windows are filthy. Like they're really dirty and
hmm,
they're absolutely disgusting. But in the same token, I could say, okay, now I find myself criticizing this. What am I grateful for? What do I appreciate about these windows? And I go, well, I can look at the mountains through these windows. And I have this office where I can look through these windows and see the mountains, see these beautiful Wasatch Mountains in Salt Lake City, Utah. Like noticing where you're critical and having gratitude in that next moment.
Hmm.
I think that's been a game changer for me. I know when I was one of the biggest things for me is when I was traveling in Varanasi, India.
Hmm.
Um, and I was recognizing, oh my gosh, like this is the place where people go to die, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of
No,
poverty.
that is a place where people spread their ashes after they are dead. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the burning the bodies in the
Yeah.
Ganges right there, right? So when I was in Varanasi, it was a powerful representation of what I could be grateful for, not just for what I saw around me and that I didn't experience some of the the garbage that was piled up on the streets and people not having things, people living in in poverty. It wasn't so much that, it was the fact that there were people that were in that space that were happy. And I was witnessing people in that. We went to an orphanage and I was witnessing kids, happy,
Hmm.
living in absolute, like, just the heat and the filth. And what they were living in was like, how do you fathom that we're happy? And how can this person be happy
Yeah.
and me not be happy with what I have? Like, how is that possible? How are these people able to be happy? And I think it's gratitude, right? So if you can wake up and be grateful that you're alive, if you can have rules in your life, if you will, that say, hey, I'm successful, and you make it easy to feel successful. I used to make it so hard to feel successful. I put rules on things. So I'd say, hey, in order for me to feel successful, I have to be doing really well in my business. I have to be making lots of money. My clients have to be making lots of money. My wife has to be happy. My kids all have to be happy. This is my rule around success. Then
Hmm.
I started saying, what if I made it easier to feel successful? Because
Yeah.
I made up this old other rule. I just created this old rule that said all these things had to be in place for me to be successful. What if I created a new rule and said, "Hey, I'm successful as long as I'm above ground." And at first my brain was like, "No, no, you can't do that."
Right.
But I stuck with it and said, "Hey, if I created a new rule that made it easier to feel successful, easier to feel gratitude, easier to feel happy, if I just change my rules in my life, I could actually start feeling better."
Hmm.
And that's a tool that I sit down and use at least once a year, where I define my rules of my life and create the emotions that I want to feel and make it easier to feel them, by changing my rules and then making it harder to feel bad. So I used to make it easy to feel bad. What had to happen in the past to be a failure? All I needed to do in the past to be a failure was say, if I make a mistake, if I make a mistake, I'm a failure. Well, I failed all day long, so I felt like a failure. And then I
Hmm.
started changing that rule and I said, hey, I'm only a failure if I decide to give up, to totally quit. And to me, that was suicide. So I was only a failure if I decided to commit suicide. That's when I failed. But unless that happened, I wasn't failing. I was actually learning and growing. So I changed my rules and I started telling myself every day these new rules, convincing myself these were my new rules. And I kept telling brain, you got to get on board. You got to get on board with this. This is helping us. Brain, get on board. Brain, get on board. And the more I did that, the more I started to believe these new rules. Now I still go back to my old rules every once in a while, but I realized that we can create our own rules for our own emotions. So we get to decide how we feel based on our rules. And if I change, Varanasi helped me change my rules. They helped me define new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Super
Thanks a
cool.
lot for sharing that perspective. It really gives me a lot to think about, and everything that you shared today was absolutely gold, absolutely valuable. Specifically, being a young, like entrepreneur, who generally just is in the hustle mode
Mm.
and trying to like achieve the next big thing and the next big goal, because satisfaction level is very less. No matter how much you make, doesn't matter. Like money is not even the goal right now, it's just something else, right? So finding your purpose and understanding and building a resilience mindset becomes really important at this point of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's super cool you're doing this. I think it's awesome that you're doing this at this age and you're working on these things and you're helping the world. That's way to go.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your time and joining us today on this podcast. Really had a great time with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to connect with you over the social, where is a great, like, how can people find you?
The place to get all of our things, all of our information, and a bunch of really good stuff like the Resilient Toolkit that I talked about. We
Hmm.
also have, if you're wanting to create a course, the 6 things to focus on that are critical in creating a course. We give some free information there. Um, it's brandonandmichellebarber.com. That's a place to go that'll guide you through all those things to get access. But again, it's um, whatever the prefix is to that, but brandonandmichellebarber.com.
Got it. Understood. I'll attach the link in the description as well. And it was nice having you today, Brandon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah.